I finally got my hands on the Sony A7V this week, so I am going to change the menu system. I'm going to show you my 5 favorite things to change right away when I get a new camera. We're going to go through them one by one, and they actually make a huge difference when I'm out shooting. You can just pick it up and you have all these cool functional settings that just works for you instead of against you. So let's get into it. The first thing I always change are the customizable buttons. You can pretty much assign any function to any button that you want. Click the menu button, then you come in here in my menu, then you go all the way down to this yellow part here, the setup. Then you go for operation customize. And then you have 3 settings here. You can choose to customize the dials for the photography section, or you can go for the film section. I'm only going to touch on the photography stuff today, so if you want to see the video, please leave a comment down below. Go in to operation customize and then into custom keys and dial settings. I find that if you assign the ISO setting here instead of having to go down on the wheel, it just makes things a little bit easier. So I have like shutter speed on the front, then I have aperture on the back if I don't have it on the actual wheel here, and then you have the ISO here. So how to set that? We just go in here. You can see that it's chosen, and then we go to number 3. This one lights up on the page, and right now it's set to this symbol that shows the EV. That one we change to ISO. So we go here, exposure, down to ISO. If you're finding this helpful and you want to see more Sony content, please consider subscribing down below. So now that we set our ISO to this wheel right here, you're probably wondering, okay, but I want to adjust my exposure compensation if I'm using one of the more automatic functions like aperture priority. If you click upwards here, you can get into this menu, and then you can click the FN button right here. That gives you access to all of these little things. You go on the left side here, you can get to the EV right here. Well, it doesn't work with the ISO in the manual mode, but if you have it on auto, it's gonna work. I like to have the middle button right here as the monitor brightness. Monitor brightness can be really handy because you save a lot of battery. When you're outside shooting and it's bright and it's sunny, then it might come in handy to actually crank the display a little bit. And we go into the Finder monitor and then monitor brightness. Now that we go in here, you can click on the button in the middle and you'll get a chance to adjust the brightness of this monitor. Just so you guys will see everything here, I'm going to keep it at 1+, but I usually leave it at like -1. Saves a lot of battery and keeps your camera running for longer, so pro tip. I like to program the grid display on here. Shooting display, grid line display, select, click on that. And now button number 5, the downward button right here, is going to turn on the grid for you. You can see that the line appears. This can be really handy to just line up your shot, check the horizon, see if it's level or whatever. But it's also nice to have a full screen sometimes, so I like to have being able to quickly turn it on and off. APS-C mode. I usually program that to button number 4 here. So instead of focus mode, I turn this into the APS-C mode. It just gives you a little bit extra reach when you're out doing photography. You go on the camera here, image quality, and then APS-C full frame. So now you can see if I click the C3 button here, it crops in like 1.5 times. Another really handy customization, if you go down to the custom key setting, go down here and click in here, is that you can actually rate your images in camera. So you can give them 1 through 5 stars. Which will show up in your editing softwares. You go to menu, go to setup, operation customize, customize key setting, and then on the rear I usually like to program my button number 4 for this. So just 1 down, rating, and here you have all the different ratings. Enter, and now if we go in here, you can click the C3 button and you can see the little star appearing up there. And now I can give it up to 5 stars. Another thing that I always do is go in and change the My Menu settings. So if you go into your menu and all the way on the top here, you can see the star. My Menu setting. 2 things that I always have here. Number 1 is formatting. You go into My Menu, add item, and then you go down to that particular the thing you want. I go to media, format, And here you can add up to 6 menus. That one I'm gonna add here. And another one I like to call is the rec media settings. So what the rec media settings does is that it allows you to adjust how you record the photo files, basically, or the video. But so you see the photo icon right here. If you go into that one and then you can go to sort recording, you can see that now it's shooting one JPEG on the first card and one JPEG on the other. So here you can switch and do whatever you like. So maybe on card 1, I want a RAW file. I want that one to be lossless compressed. And then on the other one, I want a JPEG, and I want the quality to be extra fine and 33 megapixels. Another one I like to add here is the interval format. So if we add that as well, add item and go into interval shooting mode, that just means that you can set, then you can choose a delay for when it starts to shoot. Then you can choose the number of shots and the amount of time between each shot. So you can take 30 shots with 3-second interval and when it's supposed to start shooting. So you can use that to create time lapses, or you can use it to take pictures of yourself if you don't have anyone around and you have a tripod. The third point, and maybe my favorite, that's the memory recall function. So you have this wheel up here and you have these buttons like 1, 2, and 3. These are customizable. You can set the buttons, the customization, everything, and just think of it as different modes. For me, number 1 is usually work mode. So I will set it up to capture 2 RAW files, for instance. And I'll keep a lot of settings the same otherwise, but it's just nice to know that, okay, if I put it in, if I switch the button from manual to 1, it's gonna start capturing 2 RAW files. If I set it to 2, that's my personal one, so I shoot 1 RAW and 1 JPEG. Makes it easier for me to take pictures with friends and just give them images right away. And number 3 could be like time-lapse mode or something. Going into your settings, and then you go down to shooting, go in here, go down to shooting mode, camera set memory, and now you can pick like you can here on screen you can see, okay, so right now I have autofocus, I have shutter speed 1/100, I have f1.2, ISO 160, I'm shooting 1 RAW and 1 JPEG extra fine, and if I save that to number 1 here, it's registered. So if I do if I change my shutter speed right now to 1/320 and I change to this wheel, you can see it goes back to 1/100. So you only have 3 options here, 1, 2, and 3, and those are represented by 1, 2, and 3. But you also have M1, M2, M3, and M4, so you can do a lot of customization here. But the M1s, they're saved to your memory card in the camera. So if you start using those kind of modes, you gotta figure out a way to transfer your photos and delete them without messing up, because if you format the card, it's gonna delete it, so you have to re-implement it again. So I would just, my suggestion is just using the 3 customizable ones you have on the camera here. The fourth one is a short one, but when I'm looking at images here and I am rotating my camera like such, you can see that the camera, or the image, turns with it, which is really annoying because I'm shooting in portrait mode a lot of the times. To stop the display from rotating like that, we go into the menu, we go up, we go down to playback option, go in here, display rotation, that's set to auto by default, we turn that off. Now you can turn on the playback and you can turn the camera and see how it looks in portrait mode, which is really nice. If you're not using the creative look, even if you shoot RAW, it makes it more fun to take images because you have a lot more color, you have a lot more depth. If you don't have it already here on the FN, you can go to your menu and then go all the way down to exposure and color. You go to color and tone, and then you can turn on creative look and choose your preferred profile. I like the film look, or FL, or the instant, IN. And just use that, and now you're gonna have much better looking JPEGs, and your RAW files won't be affected because they're already in RAW, so you have a much nicer preview on your screen. DRO. If you look on your screen on the left side here, you can see that it says DR is off on me, but usually when the camera's straight out of the box, it says DR. If you're shooting RAW and you have that on, it'll affect the preview, and that way you can get really underexposed photos. So I've ended up in some venues where I had that on by a mistake. I had to boost the exposure in post a lot, and it brought back a lot of noise. So I would just highly suggest that you turn the DR off so that you actually get the same RAW file that you see on screen on your camera. So that was the 5 settings that I always change. There's a lot of customization that you can do with this camera, and I would highly suggest you kind of experiment with it and find something that works for you. So if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. And if you're wondering more about the creative look, how you can get film simulations in camera and how you can make your JPEGs really pop and get a good workflow with RAW and JPEG, check out this video right up here.